in the past, in my year one in university, when you have that peer pressure and youthful exuberance, I will follow my course mate, we'll go to the library. Unilag has got two massive library, and then we'll get there, everybody will act as if you are reading, and then I'll get to the exam hall and I'm literally blank. At the time, I had to go to the chapel, and it was when I started going to pray and say, how do I go to read at night? And then I come to examination totally blank. And then that was when I started to understand my process. And I will not think that is because I paid attention. Yeah, I think that it was God's direction. My first courses, I was revolving around B. When I was doing the fire brigade approach, reading with everybody, I got a D. So I narrowly escaped E. When I became clear and where to read, now I was sticking to my vision. All of us, we've got business mentors, we've got accountants attached to our businesses, but nobody is telling you that have you had a prayer buddy? When it all goes all wrong as if it's crumbling, your spouse, your friends, are they calling you? Do you have praying friends? My name is Elvis Boniface, founder CEO of EduGist. EduGist is an impact newsroom and innovation lab devoted to education in Africa. A bit about me. So I went to a public community rural school somewhere in South Nigeria, Cross River to be precise. I think I love education, so I studied really hard. I became the senior prefect of my school. Left secondary school some years ago. And because I wanted to further where I'm coming from, people don't move from there to uni. It's either from there to the farm. At best, you become a motorcycle rider. But my quest to get further education brought me to Lagos. What's in Lagos? I was not coming to meet anybody. I don't know where I was headed for. And that took me another 4 years to gain myself and know where I was headed with my life. And I wrote JAM, as it was called then, the JAM examination. And then I got admission to study computer science. And during my registration, it was found out that I needed a credit pass in further mathematics. And that was the first time I was hearing there's a subject called further mathematics. And so I was disqualified from enrollment at the University of Lagos. I would say that was the bold moment where the birth of EduGist started, because I started to context that information lacuna, that they couldn't put it that this is what you need in JAM brochure. So I started writing about it on Nairaland at the time. So that's where the idea of EduGist started. From there, I eventually got into uni, study, worked, and then came back to the idea. And academic excellence means different things to different people. Hopefully, I will share a few points, but one, I would say embrace diligence and hard work. We don't emphasize so much about that, really. People tell you work smart. But in my experience, that's a strong myth. You cannot replace hard work with anything, because hard work first is the activation, and then whilst you're working hard is when you now know what is the smart approach, what you should optimize, and what you should then play on. When it comes to diligence, academically, for example, it's not sweet, really. For example, initially I was a science student. So today it's very hard for people to believe that. So I think I understand my math, I understand physics, chemistry, as it were. I was quite diligent, but somehow from secondary school, I've always wanted to understand the dynamics and the interplay of governance, as it were. So whilst a science student, I took up government and I passed with a B2. Now, since I moved into the social sciences, humanities, I have had to go and learn from the beginning. I needed to then understand the basics of communication, the basics of education pedagogy. So I would think that, or my suggestion, what I have learned is that you have to embrace that diligence and the hard work. Are you going to read for 4 hours per day? Are you going to be consistent? It is when you put all these things, as we all know, for the purpose of this conversation, there is always the G factor. But they say, except the Lord watched over a city, the watchman does so in vain. But what we have not extrapolated is that there is a city and then there is an effort, an action word watching over the city. So when you try to be diligent and put in the hard work, somehow it comes in together. It's when you are diligent, for example, in academics, I used to have, whilst we're in Unilag, shout out to my friend Skuje. He's the only person that graduated with a first class, which doesn't happen in education. But up until today, it's a personal motivation because 3 a.m. this gentleman is reading. You come to school 7 a.m. is reading. But the most important diligent I saw in that gentleman, which is what I try to do today, is that he will go back and teach all of us in the class, not thinking whether we will take first the way we say it. That will lead to point 2 because we need to seek God's wisdom, guidance, and of course understanding one studies. So for example, some people know that they can read at night. I work in education today. And so what that means is that I'm a lifelong learner. We're having this interview right in my office. To be honest and fair with you, I don't do any productive work here because anytime I'm on this table, my colleagues are probably knocking. I'm probably trying to attend to an invoice or looking at an editorial or something. But I don't know who's going to watch this. Don't come to me at night. But I am most productive at night. And even though I'm most productive at night, I know that it's not 12 midnight. It's maybe between, 3 to 6 a.m. That's when I do my best work. And it took me a whole lot of time to understand that. In the past, in my year 1 in university, so many years ago, when you have that peer pressure and youthful exuberance, I will follow my colleagues, my coursemate will go to the library. Unilag has got 2 massive library, and then we'll get there, everybody will act as if you are reading, and then I'll get to the exam hall and I'm literally blank. So at the time I had to go to the chapel. Unilag has got a good chapel. There is the chapel and then there is the mosques for people. And it was when I started going to pray and say, how do I go to read at night? And then I come to examination totally blank. And then that was when I started to understand my process. And I will not think that is because I paid attention yet. To buttress my last point, diligence and effort, I think that it was God's direction. So now I know when I'm going to be productive and creative. And then since I switch, I don't do so much reading. Even now that I do very strong work, consultancy, I know when I need to write my concept note. When people drop something from me, that's why the hard work now works. So I work in education. I don't work in the classroom. I don't do jam tutorials. But somehow I think it's God's guidance because I do education development policy at the state and non-state level. Sometimes it's God's wisdom that guides me for some of the things to do, just the way it has happened academically. Recently, a client reached out to us and said, hey, EduGist, can you help us to design a scholarship program for students in university that are at 4.0 CGPA? And I prayed about it. And then I went back to them and said, can we redirect your focus? Can we design this product, this initiative, this CSR, corporate social responsibility, to tend to students that have mental health issues? Students that they were supposed to have graduated in 4 years, but COVID came, ASU strike came, and other things. These people, a lot of them are suicidal. can we have a CSRO that tend to them? And so far we have 212 students. We have centers in UNILAG, OAU. When I look back, no form of research, no form of personalized knowledge would have taken me to there without God's direction and guidance, really. That will take me to the third point, that we should set clear goals and have clear vision for our academic journey. So now my best explanation of God's blessings is that when you look at the story of the talent, the virgins that utilize that and those that don't utilize that, I see a sense of duty. We are a fertile land, a virgin forest. God blesses you based on where you have chosen to cultivate. And so you must set clear goals. One of the things I did during my undergrad, maybe going back, I would have set better goals, but I was very clear and I said, I don't think I want to graduate with a first class. Not because I believe that academically, I cannot do that, but I was a self-sponsored student. But one of the targets I set for myself that I must graduate with a 4.0. So what that means is that in the worst case scenario, I'll fall back to 3.5, which is a 2-1. And so for everything I was doing, it was based on that target, clear goals and aspirations. So my first courses, I was revolving around B. And then, like I said in the point 1, when I was doing the fire brigade approach, reading with everybody, I got a D. So I narrowly escaped E. So when I became clear and what to read, now I was sticking to my vision. So whether I'm doing an assignment, my target will be, let me aim for 80. If the worst come to the worst, I'll be at a 60, which is a convenient B. So that target, I think, was really helped me. By 300 level, I was already distracted, and so I could not maintain a 4 point. And so, also for my final year project, somehow me and my project supervisor, and I'm proud to say it, we didn't go along. We disagreed on so many things, and for the record, I was the first and only person in my class that got an E in a project that is 6 units. But you know what? I still graduated with what you can call a strong 2-1 because I had clear goal and vision which I stick to in year 1, year 2, and year 3. So at the final year, when things begin to mess up, I found it. I have not gone for a doctorate yet, but during postgraduate study at the master level, it was also the target. You will always hear them tell you in master class, you must graduate with a PhD grade. And some people from the beginning, they go with that target in mind. Some people just tell you they are working already, they just want to have masters or MS or MA, whichever one it is. They don't have issues. So when we have vision and all that, even when it now makes God to know, okay, this is the target that my child have set. That's why I started with the blessings, the favor we receive from God. It's just like a virgin land. You are the farmer. If you want to do one small space, God is happy to help you. If you want to do one plot, if you want to do an eternal hectares or 20 hectares of land, I believe that God bless you in proportion to your set vision and the ability to stick to it. I think that will take me to the next point for anybody. We must maintain academic integrity. And in all our studies, we should maintain academic integrity in our academic pursuits. And this is how this works. In the knowledge space, it is said that nothing is cast in stone, really. So there is no knowledge that is new. But how do you maintain academic integrity? In the creative space, we say still like an artist. Now we find ourselves in a space where, for example, private schools, for example, I'm sorry to mention this, but a lot of them, they are measured by the performances of their students in external examinations, whether locally or externally. But I can tell you for a fact that as a newsroom that is dedicated to reporting education with a functional investigative desk, one of the things we found out is a lot of the results you see around 5As, 10As, Bs, a lot of them, are mechanized. They have people writing those things for people. So at the individual level, how can you maintain, academic integrity? Like I said, I went to a public school, a rural one for that matter. In community schools, in the ghettos of this world, that's where dishonesty and cheating has become foremost. So at the individual, you must get to that point where you tell yourself, in my time, as an individual, as someone in a group, this must not happen in my time. I'll give you a clear example. I am not exonerating my school. Today, even though I do a lot of things, in my resume, you will see that I attended community secondary school Akbarabon with full pride. Even when people had advised me when I came to Lagos, I should go and do GC so that I can change my school. But I'm proud of my result because from SS1, I told my classmate, and this is something that can be verified, that we are going to write our WISE exam by ourselves without any help. So what did we do? We started employing graduates in the community that don't have job. So from SS1, we're doing extramural classes. We solved WIAC past question from 1988 until 2006. So we know it back to back. And when we got to the exam hall, like for me in math, it was the past questions that I was looking through and I have solved many times. I dropped it and moved into exam hall. That was exactly what I saw. And then in today's world, with ChatGPT, AI, and other form of augmented learning, it's easy for you to just put in one keyword and you have a lot to do with. Academic integrity allows you to be able to, yes, you have the guidance from whatever has been given to you by ChatGPT, but can you look at your reality? I tell people that originality is contextual. So when you see things, can you approach it in your own way? Now, if you are doing science, STEM-related subject, most of those things required just for you to know the equations and all that. And shout out to the University of Lagos. Most of the courses I benefited, I got A's and B's in UNILAG, were the courses that allow you to think outside of the box. So if you think outside of the box and a concept is given to you, when you understand that concept, it's easy for you to expand on it. So I think that we should forestall lack of integrity, and this comes in the form of cheating, the form of plagiarism. It can be the worst thing. What I found out when I started working is that at the public university level in Nigeria, Mr. A can do an assignment, you can copy it, and then what he has in chapter 1, you can turn it upside down, and then you just increase the font so that it will be bulky, you print, and the lecturer will just mark you maybe a 60 and you are happy and you just smile. But when those things start showing is when you start working and you are given an assignment, you are asked to design a concept note. Who is going to help you? So if you do the right thing, if you leave all these things, that way too, God is going to even see your heart and help you and give you inspiration. A lot has been done. One of the things that cheating or plagiarism and other forms of academic backdoor takes away from us is that we have come to that point where we shouldn't just be consuming knowledge, we should also be creators of knowledge. When you look at PNOKK physics, that we already, where did he get those inspiration from? We have read bestseller from the Wole Soyinkas of this world, the Achebes of this world, the Chimamanda. In our generation, who are the next people that are going to produce the next bestseller for our generation and the coming generation? How will you get to that level of inspiration if you have not maintained some level of integrity and sanity? The answer is best imagined. Now, the good thing about whether academic integrity or the pursuit of knowledge is, I already said in my point 3 that there must be a set target. Now, whilst there is a target, there is a driver that helps you to stay on track, and that is time management. If you do not maintain time, you are going to be what I like to call a mess, because if you don't know when to do what has to be done at that time, which is what procrastination is all about, you are really going to find yourself doing a lot of mistakes. So for me, academically, can we know what to read at what time? And also, in the Nigerian way of education, some topic, some courses, some subject, do you really need to internalize it? Or you just need to read, like we say in Nigeria, read it, pour it, pass, and forget. If you have a course that you needed to just know what you need to know, write it for the lecturer to give you your 60 or 70, and then you go wasting time to internalize those things, then you have just messed up yourself. On the flip side, so when we look at time management, I think it's not just a one-way conversation about the student. As parents too, whether young or aged parent, we also play a pivotal role, because over 90% of the human brain is grown in the first 5 years. And so they say it is easier to build a child than to repair the adult. So in this very first 5 years, what is the educational investment? So time is both ways. What you do as you grow up, but what the system, both at the school level, at the family level, enthrones. So when you manage time, it really allows God to really help you, because in the university, depending on your course of study, you are not supposed to spend more than 4 or 5 years, except you are doing medicine and surgery, or except the Nigerian system happens to you. So time management even extends beyond academics, even in our everyday life. If you waste a second, you are not going to regain that again. So why not optimize your time to be used judiciously? I had said that there is a God factor, but how do you even see that God factor without being spiritually and mentally healthy and surrounding yourself with the right people? Everybody believe on something. Even within the body of Christ, some people have said they are Catholic, some people have said they are embracing Pentecostalism, and then different variants of it. So there is actually a belief system where people need to be spiritually conscious. If you don't have that, I think there is a problem. And then mentally, we work out, we do exercises, but that is why the difference between developed nations and us has not been in our body sizes, has not been in the quality of food we consume, because it's actually here, mental. We have to be mentally healthy. One of my colleagues wrote a report around investing in sport education in Nigeria, and I was going through the report last night, and then I looked at Uruguay, is it? Oh, yes, Uruguay. And then I looked at, and these people, they are less than 4 million people. But look at the quality of players that have come out of that country. Look at Croatia, they have made it into the finals of the World Cup, they've been contenders in Europe. So all these things is a function of mental work. And so when people say they want doing the work in some organizations because I am the cleaner, because I carry load upstairs, and a guy is just using the pen, go and sit and use that pen. Or let Oga not do that if the company will not crumble. So we have to stay mentally healthy. And how do we do that? We need to study, read outside the box. Even as we study, what is the form of education? Some people in this new dispensation, they cannot read hardcover notebook. Some people do audiobook. Some people are best in visuals, whichever way. And that is why the spiritual component is a complement on being mentally healthy, because that is where and how the Spirit even directs you on the best way to do that. So typically, we're having this conversation in October. I like to do a self-audit and say, hey, young man, this year, how many books have you read? How many podcasts have you listened from beginning to end? How many online courses have you taken and you have completed it from the beginning to the end? Because we have this tendency of registering for both paid and unpaid courses. We take one module and that is the end. But at the center of driving spiritual and mental health is actually the right people. They say, show me your tribe. Your network, is a determinant of your network. They say, if you stay in the barber shop for so long, one day you will enter the barber shop and take a haircut. So are you surrounding yourself with the right people? From a spiritual perspective, most recently, I took an audit and I have seen a lot of leaders of the gospel that have faltered. Today, we are using them on popular podcasts. Today, we are celebrating people that we knew as cleaners. They are CEOs of organizations. We are celebrating superstars. And one day, the Spirit just spoke to me and I took a deep breath. I said, can we celebrate the men of faith that have stayed consistent? I'm not going to reference a particular church. Can we look at our leaders of faith and say, this person have stayed the course of the gospel? Can we look at role models in faith? For me, I tell people that, yes, it's no longer sexy, but take a stand for righteousness. It's a woke generation. People want to say you are this or that. But I think we don't need to be ashamed of the gospel. And if you don't want to be ashamed of the gospel, we are the generation that loves God, but so much disconnected from the gospel. We are a generation that pray, but we have lost our sense of worship. Until we go back, Revelation will tell you that go back to your first step. So I tell people, academically, by the time you're doing well, what you expect that when you've done well academically and you graduate, you probably be doing well in the corporate world. You probably be doing well as a business owner. But as someone that has gone to business school and done it and seen it all, what I have found out is that where organizations or individual careers thrive is when you come back, like the Lord Jesus said, and you see yourself and act yourself as that little child. So I want you to enter this office and not know that I'm the CEO. I want you to enter this office, the way I will treat you is the way I want to treat my colleague that is the office assistant. These are the nuances of spiritual attribute that we have forgotten, and then match that to mental health. All of us, we've got business mentors, we've got accountants attached to our businesses. As a business, one of the things my mentors will say, have it is you must have a lawyer on retainership because business is war. Those are good advices, but nobody is telling you that have you had a prayer buddy? when it all goes all wrong, as if it's crumbling, their spouse, their friends, are they calling you? Do you have praying friends? Some are really, you need to really fortify yourself spiritually, fortify yourself mentally, and surround yourself with the right people is an indefatigable tripartite arrangement. You see, like I talked about hard work in the beginning, you must avoid laziness and procrastination. Academically, so there is difference between you will do something and you have done something and you have done it at the right time. Until we get to that level of matching the boat, laziness defined in academic pursuit is when a subject that, for example, you have an academic paper to read, but you are not tackling that thing as if it's going to be objective. When you want to deliver, because you've been lazy, this requires an academic paper. So if I'm telling you, let's say, for example, let's look at the effect of the Nigerian legislative arm of government in 2024. And if you look at it from that prism, that is just academic laziness, because I will expect that you will begin to, look back, if not for anything, dating back to the beginning of the Fourth Republic, which date back to 1999. What happened in the Obasanjo era? What was the transition from 1998 to where we got into where we were? There was a time where there was no Senate president that lasted for up to 1 year. There was a series of changes. What happened? It becomes, proactiveness and then a slap on laziness when you take up things like that. One of the things that affected me as far as procrastination is concerned, I think it was during my master's where some programs, some topics I was supposed to read, I will not do it. And then at the end, I was expecting that the portal will not be closed. And that is how I find myself running into troubles. And that happens both in my local program in Nigeria. In fact, in the UK, it was even the best I have seen. Here, you want to go and beg the lecturer and say, "Mommy, sorry, this one happened. NEPA took light," or, But in the UK, the faculty, they smile at you. "Hi, Elvis, how are you?" without saying anything. And then this portal is supposed to close for 12 midnight today. They will silently close the portal. Some people in academic process, sometimes we want to be perfectionist. We want to write and rewrite that paper. And then at the time when you were supposed to have this sent in, you've not met the time. It's a flaw. And when you do that, you've just given God a reason to disappoint yourself and not really God, because He is always there to use you according to your investment in self. Nothing good comes easy. And so if that be the case, you must have to persevere in the center of the numerous challenges that will come, because you are going to have a whole lot of them. I don't know what this audience looks like. If it's from a Nigerian perspective, for example, the system is going to be against you in so many ways. You're going to struggle, especially, there is academic mobility where in higher institutions, some people went to public schools, some people went to private school. I used to tell people that when God started helping me, the first shocker I got was I don't even know how to use a fork in eating. Because where I'm coming from, if you see spoon to eat your rice, God has helped you. Otherwise, what happened to your hand? That's even if you see the rice. It might look like basic, but now because I work in education, I found out that these are things that even teach them from just after creche. and all that. So these challenges are going to happen, especially when you don't have the strong foundation, but it behooves on each and every one of us to want to surmount that. And I had talked about spiritual, there are people that just read and then they get into exam hall and then they are totally blank. And then they come back outside the exam hall and suddenly they remember. Those are challenges. In a typical academic year, if you are, depending on the level, you are at the secondary school level, you are talking about 6 years. In the university, you are talking about a minimum of 8 to 12 semesters. If it happens in you once, if that challenge repeats itself, that means you have not put in the best. It's been very interesting having this conversation about academic excellence, citing different points, but summarily, I think that it doesn't come easy. From Aristotle to Plato, it was not smooth sailing. It's incumbent on each and every one of us to surmount our challenges. But this is my thinking, that at the center of all this is Jehovah. Because except he watched over the city, the watchman does in vain. Except he builds a house, all our effort is really in vain. What is your big picture? And academic excellence means different things to different people. Here we don't talk about it so much, but abroad you have families celebrating. For the first people, you hear them saying, I'm the first person in my family to have gone to college. What is your target? Are you the first person that is going to break that barrier? Academic excellence also means that currently unemployment is at 53.4% from MBA. And within that number, 33.2% have got a minimum of bachelor's degree. Academic excellence, when you have God guidance, tells you that you are going to combine the academic pursuits and vocational ability. I lead an education organization. My joy here really is one of my colleagues here. His name is Agbaji David. He studied guidance and counseling education. But he's here now working in an education firm. Not with that. He is one of the best photographers I have seen. But because he works in an education media firm that does education, you understand the pedagogy, the quality of his photography, the angle he takes is different. And I asked him, how did you combine this? And he said, somehow God told him this is what he would do. So those are the different dimensions. Some people, the academic target might not just be even 3 years, 4 years, 10 years from graduation. We have not produced our best lawyers yet. We have not produced our best legislator yet, because it's not about the myriad of certifications. We need people that will go there and speak the truth and shame the system. And that is what, when you set academic target, you summon, the many challenges. Then with God, you are going to leave a lasting impact, going to a place where there existed nothing, and then you will create a path and build something. For my last word, I would not want to be ambiguous with speaking different English, but I will say to the viewers, they say whose could help? And my retort to that would be that school no be scam. Education is the best investment you can have on yourself. In fact, my best quote for academic excellence and education is that education is a gold mine that never runs out of gold. From Elvis Boniface. My name, I am the founder CEO of EduGist. EduGist is the first and only education newsroom in Africa dedicated to education. And hey, before you go, if you have found value in this content, why not just subscribe, like, share, and of course, click the notification button, because I think they are going to bring you more inspiring people than myself in their subsequent edition. Again, subscribe, like, share, and click the notification button. Peace.